Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first Sequester mini recapping the Friday, May 1st Sequester mini game, which was won by Sharifa by a vote of 6-1. Louie, I'm not going to whisper like this the whole time. I'm not the best whisperer, as Brent told me in my room, but do you want to take it from here?
The whisper will haunt my dreams, probably for the rest of my life. But a great night of Sequester last night. First off, congratulations, Sharifa. An amazing game.
Thank you.
Yeah, we had a whole lot of fun. I mean, the new LOS twist, much demanded in the Sequester world, which we could definitely go into. I would say our first Sequester scandal. Perhaps every good reality show needs a scandal, and we had Chatgate, which we definitely need to discuss at length. We had a celeb mod for the first time in a Room 5 mod, which was a lot of fun and a really good scrappy end game. So I think this will be a lot of fun to get into and dive into the rounds.
I could not agree more, Louie. So let's tarry no further. Let's bring in our guests, guys. I mean, you're already here. We don't need to bring in anyone, but welcome. Thank you for showing up here. Thank you for arriving on very little sleep. How much sleep did everyone get?
3 hours.
Yeah, I think that sounds about
4.
right.
Yeah,
maybe 2. I had coffee though, so
I slept like a rock.
Must be nice, Louie. Must be nice. Why don't we just get into it? I'm gonna kind of I have my notes from the show, my really shitty, poorly written notes from last night. Louie has some notes himself. We're gonna kind of start from the beginning, as all good stories start, carry on until the end, and chime in, please, as you guys have thoughts, and we'll open this up as a roundtable discussion on anything. If there's any questions you want to ask each other, anything more you want to expound on, let's do it. So to start out, we had 18 players, right, to start the game. We had 6 women and 12 men. Any intro videos are usually where we get, of course, our first impressions of each other, aside from the hour long where we're sitting and staring at the players in our room. But because intro videos are so important, what are some first impressions you guys got from each other? Who stood out to you as being someone you might want to align with, as someone you might want to watch out for, as someone who might be an easy first boot?
So I was scared when I saw Braden's video because we had played a mini like 3 days before and he completely screwed me over. My general feel was that I thought I wouldn't vibe with the cast, but I did. So gosh, I can't even remember his name. Was his name Trevor, the guy everyone targeted? I feel like some people's intro videos were kind of very extra. So the second mini I played, I mentioned I was a poker player and that made me a threat. So I kind of toned mine down completely, just tried to like be nice. But I think intro videos definitely are a huge part of the beginning game. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I was really scared of saying something that was going to come across as threatening. And God, Braden, when you had your little video, you're like, I'm going to eat all of you up. Sorry about it. I was screaming.
I literally stuck my tongue out at your intro video. I was like, you couldn't see it though, so.
When with my first mini playing, I established that I did like a kind of highly edited like green screen video. So I wanted to do something similar. And because I'd shaved my head since last time I played, I wanted to make it a bit of like I had had a total meltdown since going home pre-jury. But then I was so worried that I was like, man, I've done all this like planning and like prep and like studying for the game. Like, I feel like I can do so much better. And my video makes me look like a psychopath. And I'm so worried that, and then it played first. And I was like, oh God, right off the bat, I'm the first impression. Everyone's going to think I'm totally unhinged. But I think that largely, at least the impression that I got from people was that they saw Trevor as being unhinged.
I saw you more.
He was in my room. He was in my room and I saw that video and I was like, bro, are you okay?
Yeah. It's a very fine line when you're talking about the intro video, because it really does determine the first 3 to 4 people going out. And it's like, you have to seem entertaining. You can't be too dull, because if you're dull, you're a target, but you also can't say too much because then you're also a target. And I think everybody realized, cast and chat included, that Trevor was in serious trouble. Everybody, including Trevor, realized he was in serious trouble as soon as that video aired because it did not look good at all.
He is the only player I drew a target next to their name based off their video.
Seconds in, we're like, yeah, we're all thinking of one person. And we said it all at the same time. We're like, Trevor. It took us seconds to get a vote.
Yeah, because Bryce, we started in the same room together.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just such an easy way to determine a first boot. And not only that, but who is, the guy from South Carolina?
Chandler. He's the one I put a target on first. We unmuted, and I was like, how about Chandler? You know what? You want to know why I picked him? Because I didn't like his joke about PE.
I don't think it was a joke. I think it was serious. Oh, you mean it's like
it doesn't matter. It rang dad joke to me, and I was like, he's gone.
Wait, what was the joke about PE?
What?
He just talked about like it's hard to like. I don't remember the joke.
I believe he said Sequester is very much like teaching, and it was like it's not like teaching at all. It's the complete opposite of teaching, in fact.
Yeah.
I think people are going to find reasons the early game. Like, there's 20 people. As long as someone has some reason, a good reason to vote you out, like that makes them feel good, right? So, you know,
anyone's looking for an easy reason. They're looking for an easy vote. You know, if they don't have anything to go off of, unless there's so many pre-game familiarities, like it's really just the 10 to 30, 60 seconds that you give them to go off of. So it's definitely not something to take lightly for any potential mini players listening. You want to really think about it. I think. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you see in the Rob Has Podcast one, or like others with people that do know each other, then the reasons become like they didn't really play Big Brother, or you know they're like a newer person to Rob Has a Podcast. Like it's always just some bullshit reason, like those early game ones, because who gives a fuck? Or like I always look when I sit in these is like how many generic white guys are there, and which one do I want to target at the start, because the hope is that it
should have targeted me, Braden.
Well, I'm so grateful that you and I were in the same room then.
Yeah, TR and I started in the same room, so I was like, oh, we don't need to target this generic white guy. And also, I watched TR play. I watched TR play or Rayan play. Like, there's people I knew had played, and so I was like, I generally know how they.
Oh, I know what that means. Like, we both Rayan and myself were nothing floaters our first game, so you were like, oh, I can control them. I can poke them.
You played well. You were just like when Louie even left in his like second place or whatever. Initially, I thought Louie was playing a really good game. It's just those early game boots are so fucking hard to determine. Like, it's just could be anyone.
Wait, Louie played previously?
He played in my first game, Allison.
He did?
Yeah, he went home second.
Oh yeah, I was watching that one from the sidelines, and I probably was saying bad things about you, Louie. I'm sorry. I said bad things about everybody, so don't worry.
Yeah, no. You and the rest of YouTube. That's all right.
Well, so let's go ahead and let's dive into the first round. So in the first round, we had 5 people up for safety, and those people. I'm not understanding my notes, but we had the 5 people. That was the round where everyone was trying to decide what to go. It was Trevor, Chandler. Those were the names floating around. I thought the vote was going to be Chandler. Ended up being Trevor. I heard Trevor's name, and while I did write a target for him, he honestly worried me a little bit because I thought he was unhinged. So I was like, even though there's no I'm going to go with the more boring person. No offense, Chandler watching, but that's where I leaned. Then, of course, Trevor went, and we moved into round 2. Trevor, before he left, he put up John, Braden, Chandler, Ahmed, and Jonathan as flops for that round. Braden, what was going on in your mind when you were able to navigate the first round without your name really being going up, and second round, boom, there you are, you're up as a flop?
I mean, I wasn't that surprised because I was saying a lot of names the first round, but I felt like I had like my first room. I felt like Bill and Bryce and a couple other people out there would protect me anyway, so I was just trying to not be too much of an asshole like I usually am, and kind of expected that Chandler would go, right? Like, if someone's name's already been floated a bit the round before, then you just quickly say, like, Chandler, it's easy. We don't have to make anyone else mad, right? So I was stressed then, but I also, I think, got the very first LOS, which was that round or round 1. So I was kind of just like, whatever. it was sort of like an idea of, do I just play it this early, even if I sort of feel safe?
And I'm sorry, Braden, that was first of 40 LOSs. How many LOSs did you get?
Oh my god,
Okay,
I know.
every
I want to
time
go over that.
I need to dispel this shit because there was like 8 to 10 LOSs in the game throughout at different times. I only got 3 of them. I just happened to play 2 of them correctly.
Yeah.
He
just had an LOS every time he was going to be voted out.
Well, what was your strategy for that, Braden? Did you have a split screen open to be able to find it, or would you just click back very frequently?
I did not allow any tabs to be, and maybe this is helpful for people playing in the future. I didn't allow any of my things to be in tabs. I had 4 little quadrants on my screen, one of which was just camera 1, one of which was the room portal, one of which was a tiny screen where I was in StreamYard. I hardly looked at people's faces because I was just like, I don't care too much. And then my Skype chat was open on the bottom with the word pre-typed. So I would, even when I went into a stream room, I would click on my Skype to make sure that it was the top, and I would just keep an eye on the camera 1 stream so that if I had to, I could just press enter.
That's very smart. I should have done that, and I didn't.
Did any of you guys get an LOS in the game, or only Braden?
No.
Only Braden. Okay, I got 2.
Yes, you like.
Thank you, TR. I know this is jumping the gun, but I had no idea you played an LOS on me. So thank you.
I should have mentioned it, but also in retrospect, it really wouldn't have done that much. You were safe that round anyway, so.
But I still appreciate it, so thank you.
Of course, Sharifa, of course.
I forgot about the LOS thing, honestly. Like,
I did forget about it for a couple of rounds.
2 rounds, and then I was like, just completely forgot about it.
Yeah, I think it wasn't until... Sorry, go ahead, Sharifa.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I did like the Walmart version of what Braden did. I like minimized the YouTube screen so it was just where the little green dot would come up, and I put it like in the upper left corner. And I never looked at it. It just, yeah, it was honestly a waste. But next time.
It's good. It does bring more strategy into the game now as compared to who just has the fastest internet and can submit their vote the quickest. At least now you have to keep your eyes open.
It's tough too because I feel like depending on, certain people's main cam 1 video gets like lagged or a little behind. And so like if you're hearing Audrey say vote now 10 seconds before someone else is, like that, there's kind of disparity there. And so I think this is a more interesting system. It just makes it whoever wants it the most or whoever happens to get the luckiest, I guess, in terms of just spotting it. So that round, Chandler ended up going. Then we moved into round 3, which was safety roulette. This is always a fun round. Yeah.
Room 5.
I watched safety roulette happen with Mallory's game, and I was like, everybody was like, I don't know how to play this. I was like, I watched this be played. We just got to find the person that's got the safety now and get them to make us save.
No. So that's coming up.
Safety. Oh wait.
I think safety roulette's when the whole room was safe. But I am very interested to talk about that round.
Oh, the whole room.
But yeah, my room was the first room. The wheel saved my room first, so I was very thankful for that. But I liked the twist. I think this was my favorite format, partially because the LOS difference. But I thought it was a great format by Audrey.
Mm-hmm. You just got to get in a room with as many people as possible. I mean, at the end of the day, that is the goal. Do not end up alone, which Angela did in room 1, which is always scary.
Yeah, did that happen? Were you watching like last second? Why did she switch? I stayed in my room the entirety once that twist was announced.
Yeah, I feel like she was waiting in her room for a while, then tried to make a last second dash. And the problem is if you're doing it at the end and all the rooms are full, you can't get in anywhere. So she basically had to go back to the room she started in, and there was no one else there.
I would be so mad if I lost just by a wheel and like no vote.
I think it's only happened once. Like usually, because it always happens in every game that somebody is alone, but usually they end up managing to stay. I think the person who's been alone has gotten booted by the wheel 1 time.
Yeah.
I just try to be with like a diverse, like a group of people that I think aren't all working together. Like, really, the strategies, I think you guys are right, is getting a full room essentially.
Oh, that round with the wheel. I was in the room that got the safety first initially, but I had to leave because we were at room limit because they announced that it was 3 instead of whatever, or 4.
I think it was 4.
And we were at 5, and I was like, shit. So I left and I went to a different room, and I was like, they got it first, and I was like, just my fucking luck, for real.
Yeah, no one told me room 5 was a cursed room. So that was fun for me.
Sharifa, I think you mentioned it in the game at some point, but you've never, like, you hadn't watched a mini before this, right? You'd only seen like clips or something.
So I have like a weird relationship with Sequester in that way back when it was like the like 2-week version, I think, I applied for one of the seasons and I was a finalist and I didn't make it past that. And I hadn't really watched it. I just watched season 2 of the live version, which was fantastic. And I hadn't seen any of the minis. So like I knew a little bit about the structure. I knew the Final 4 format. I remember that really clearly from season 2, the live version, because that was like, oh my God, what a moment. But everything else, I was really flying by the seat of my pants. So I had, or skirt. So I had no idea all these like little intricacy moments and the fact that room 5 was where I almost died.
I don't think at that point your name was in anybody's mouth though. So I think you were probably pretty safe, even if like your room wasn't safe.
What scared me is that people were catching on to the fact that my name was not coming up because people kept reiterating to me, Sharifa, I haven't heard your name at all. And I was really nervous that a bigger player was going to, because on the flip side, that would have scared me.
So the thing though was like at that point I hadn't heard your name at all, and I was like, oh, she's safe. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It wasn't until later that I was like, this little monster.
So
that's me.
Sharifa, in all 3 of my games, my original room has worked amazing together. And I don't know why more people don't try to like solidify that so early. So like I truly was going to protect you if your name was ever brought up, and it just wasn't. So obviously I wasn't going to throw your name out there, but I think that original room like is slept on. Like I think people need to, I mean, unless you just hate the people, I think you should try to solidify that more. And I think we did a great job of that. And I mean, 3 of us made it to the final 4. So
yeah. For sure.
Spoiler,
I mean,
sorry.
Well, because you have such, like, I feel like at the beginning you're grasping at anything you can to form some sort of bond with people. And just starting that, we were in that room for an hour, sitting there staring at each other. So that I feel like, and naturally I had a stronger bond with y'all. And it was always like avoiding targeting one of y'all, at least in the very beginning. And then once we got to the middle of Ohobar.
Oh shit!
Speaking of the original room, this round where the people that didn't get safety were myself, Khalid, Nick, and Sharifa.
Yeah,
and I was probably like a very viable option that round, but like my initial room was Braden, Angela, TR, and we called us Bat.
You called us Bat, by the way.
I did because it was very COVID related. I thought it was apt.
And Braden, you didn't even wait a second. You're like, Khalid, I'm voting you. Sorry about it.
Yeah, so I don't know. I like these like flashy things. So basically my plan while I was sitting there waiting for the roulette wheel was I'll fight Khalid after, but then like try to smooth, like Khalid seemed like a level-headed guy. So my hope was to like fight Khalid and make him scared and then have him put out a name afterwards. So to me, it was either, my hope was would either be Sharifa or Nick going after that fight.
Because that's why I stayed in that room, because I did not want you two to talk alone or talk alone with Nick.
Yeah, so I thought Khalid would be the most malleable, but I mean, it kind of works, but I think really that was just like some flashy Braden stupidity. And I think that TR and Angela and a few other like Bill, some other people, probably Bryce too, were probably just decided that they were scared that I had an LOS or something and decided it was best to vote someone else out.
That was very entertaining because I totally was out of the loop. So when I was hearing people being like, yeah, Khalid and Braden, and I'm like, I'm in all the wrong rooms. And I did go in a room at one point. I remember I specifically wrote this down. I was in a room with you, Bryce, with Khalid and Bill, and I was just sitting there not saying anything, and the three of you guys were like, "Fuck Braden! What the hell is he thinking? What the hell?"
That was because I finally found Bill, and Braden had spread this lie that he said that I told Bill I was after him, and I was like, "Why would Bill do that?" So I didn't believe it. I just didn't believe it, but I didn't know why Braden would say that because I thought Braden and Bill were friends. So I was thoroughly confused as to whether or not I wanted to work with Braden because while we had beef, like I liked him and I thought we could work together. So him doing that just mind fucked me. And
Braden
I still
played everybody like real pawns the whole time.
But like it didn't help him. It made me want to go after him because I knew he was lying.
Everybody wanted to go after him, but he somehow managed to stay in the whole time.
Because he didn't throw out my name while he lied. I was like, I don't even care.
The first half of the game, I swear.
I didn't care that he lied because I still thought he had my back. I was just like, that was stupid, Braden. So I want you to explain that a little bit, Braden.
Oh, fuck. Well, I think there were enough people that thought I had their back. Bryce, so basically I knew that Bryce and Bill both knew me, and Bryce, Bill, and I like have played various other online games that aren't Sequester. So I just was like, in this trifecta, I was like, I'm the bottom man. Like at some point, Bryce and Bill will decide to cut me. Like that was sort of my thinking going into this game. So I was like, I just need to sow some seeds of distrust early, and then kind of like get to Bryce or I wasn't sure who, but get to one of them and be like, we got to cut, sketchy other person. So it just it paid dividends when, and we'll talk about it later, the round where Bill didn't have a vote.
It was just so early to do it. I mean, it makes sense, but like, I'm not the type to just sit there and absorb information. I found Bill in a room and was like, did you say that? And he's like, no. So that was very entertaining.
There's always like, in these games, because they're so fast, typically at the start when I see the cast, I write like 3 or 4 or 5 things I can like say as like Hail Marys or something, or or lies that I want to have in the game at some point. So like if we get down to it, to throw the Girls Alliance, to like have you and Bill hopefully fight, and like there's a few other things. If I find my notes.
You're flashy. I like it. Definitely fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, it doesn't always work out.
What'd you say?
I said Braden was the rumor mill.
He really was. He made everything interesting.
I remember when I heard about the Girls Alliance, I was like, no one told me.
I knew for a fact he was full of shit, and I just thought it was hilarious. I was like, people aren't gonna buy that.
The funny thing
from Allison, it like spread to Allison.
Though, is that somebody mentioned it, and I think it was earlier. I think it might have been Natalie. It was me and Natalie and another girl, whom of which I don't remember.
Oh, mentioned in All Girls Alliance?
Yeah, well, I was sitting in a room with them, and they were going back and forth, and I was just like,
I want to say it was Angela or Rayanne.
Alliance.
I was like, because I went through the comments last night on the YouTube video. It was probably Angela or Rayanne. This round, the round of the safety roulette. So why did you guys vote out Nick? Like, what were your feelings on Nick? Because I actually was like, Nick seemed like, I fucking love Nick.
Yeah, I actually had really, really great vibes from Nick. And there was one point in one of the rounds where I wound up one-on-one with him, and he and I connected decently well. And I was like, okay, yeah, so this is someone I genuinely feel like I can trust later on in the game. And I was going to vote Khalid. And it wasn't until the final room before the round ended when it was Khalid and I can't remember who else, maybe you, Braden, or someone else. And they were telling me that it was going to be Nick that everyone was voting for, and they were asking me not to vote Khalid. So I switched at the last minute because that was what the majority was doing, even though I didn't.
Watching from the outside, it seemed like Khalid realized he was in trouble, and he hustled at the end to try to procure votes, where it didn't seem like Nick really realized until the end that he was in any danger whatsoever, so really couldn't gather any votes. So Khalid kind of got in the front of that, and he played pretty well that round in terms of just keeping himself safe.
I was really pushing Nick because I liked Nick too, but when we got in the room and it was the 4 of us, I knew I really wanted to align with Khalid. And Braden, you were a bigger target, bigger threat, and I knew that like it was a shield. And so for me, and I think we said this in the room, I was like, I'm so down for Nick. I don't want it to be one of the 2 of you. And so I was trying to go around and push that.
Yeah, my exposure to Nick was 0. I did not find a room with him. He's actually very good friends with my friend Daniel Kennedy. So I think I didn't know that.
Shout out Daniel Kennedy. Free shout
I love
out.
Daniel Kennedy. Do you know him?
No.
Oh, I love DK. Anyways, yeah, so I just hadn't been in a room with him at all. So it was a very simple decision. When someone said his name, I was like, haven't talked to him, done. So I very much go for people that I haven't spoken to, because why would they protect me if they haven't spoken to me?
That brings up an interesting point, which I've thought about in terms of early rounds of Sequester. And Braden, you kind of did this a little bit in terms of staying in one place. Does it make more sense to stay in one place, let people come to you? Or should you bounce as much as you can and touch base with as many people as you can so you don't fall into the trap that Nick did of just not speaking to enough people?
See, I didn't vote for Nick, though. I voted for Braden.
I think you have to be a special kind of person, or like a certain type of, have a likability factor or something to be able to pull that off. Because I've definitely seen some people do that, but I don't know how they could. It just didn't sit right with me to sit in one room too long.
No, I bounce around as much as possible. Make a plan and bounce around.
80% of the game is going on and you're not even privy to it.
Yeah, but you're not going to be in all 5 rooms at once. Like, if everyone is bouncing around and I'm staying in one place, people are coming to me, especially early game. Like, I'll just cycle through seeing people anyways.
Do you agree with that?
Do you guys agree with that? I mean, and also to me, I was staying a bit more stationary because I was like, I'm gonna keep my eye on this screen. Like, if I have a feeling,
I do agree with that, though. That whoever said that, I agree with that, because Braden already had a reputation, so people were going to him. He didn't have to go anywhere.
I mean, I definitely wanted to. It's about who you want to find, also. Like, because I knew Braden, I wanted to find him and like solidify something. But at the same time, like, I don't think you can just sit in one room, because part of it, for like a full 40 seconds, people were playing the nose goes game to stay in a room. That's just burning time. The rounds are way too fast. You can't just do that.
Right. So you were all about playing that game.
No, I was so down
I entered the room. You're like,
no, I wanted to do it because I wanted to, in the first few seconds, I wanted someone to just get the hell out of my room. I didn't want to sit there and be like, who's going? So while that might have been annoying to some people, I think it was needed.
Well, don't worry. I think the next time you try that, if we ever play together again, I'm going to be like, nah, I'm going to sit here in a deadlock. Bitch.
I would leave if the deadlock lasted long enough. So that's a fair shot.
I didn't spend much time having a mod tell me to leave a room either, just because I would stay in room 5, which seems to be less traveled typically. I don't know. I just hate there's nothing more stressful to me than when you're jumping around and you like multiple times enter full rooms. Like, I just
Sharifa had that happen every time, and she was always like, oh my god. Every time I entered a room with her, she's like, can we just not do this anymore?
Well, it's because I'm not used to the structure. Like, I'm from the Survivor community. And, you know, I am used to being able to have like one-on-one conversations with people. That's where I thrive. And the whole room concept took me such a minute to get accustomed to, because I would leave and I would go into another room and it'd be full. And then I'd go into a different room and I'd be the only person in it. There was the round jumping the gun, but the round that Rayanne left, I was like jumping from room to room to room to room just to find someone to have a conversation, because I was trying to save Rayanne. And every time I got in a room, it was either full or I was the only person in it. And I barely got to talk to anyone that round, and she ended up leaving. So like the whole like having to bounce around, it takes you a second to get accustomed to it. It kind of feels like Russian roulette, honestly.
I feel like that is one of the reasons, one of the benefits of staying in one place, at least early game, is that you don't have to worry about the room limits. Like Janine, for example, is a good example of this. She stayed a couple of weeks ago in one place the entire time. She stayed in room 1 the entire time, let people come to her, and she never really had to worry about it. There's something to be said for that, but then there's something to be said for the other side, that if nobody comes to you, you're basically out of luck and you're in a lot of trouble. You just got to make sure you get into a good room that you know people will traffic and people will go to. There was a fun moment in terms of the nose goes, which in my game, I had no idea that even existed, and people were just touching their nose, and I was so confused for so long. But TR was trying to do nose goes in room 5, and Brent came on when they were at limit and said, no one else knows what you're doing, TR. Somebody has to go.
I know. I remember when I saw Bryce doing that, because Bryce, the first time I entered a room and Bryce was in there, and he was like, and I was about to be like, "Are we in kindergarten, dude?" Like, no.
I wasn't the first to do that, Allison. I
know you weren't, but you were the first person I saw do it. Is the thing.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
Allison, I just remember you getting over it towards the end. Like I know, jumping the gun again, but it was one of the later rounds where everyone was doing the nose goes, and Allison, you were the last one. I'm like, no, I'm not leaving.
Yeah, I did. I was just like, this is so stupid. Look, one of you have been in here. I know you're having a conversation, but skedaddle.
I found myself, Bryce, a lot of times I would like enter into a room limit, and you would be like, I'm not leaving. I'm staying right here. No.
100%. I was being stubborn. I was like, I'm not leaving. If you guys want to play this game, I'll play this game. Little type A of me, but.
Well, so that round, it ended with Nick being eliminated, which brought us into round 4, which became the first of 2 rounds for the Save Your Vote twist. So you could vote now, you could vote later, but you had to choose. And whichever round you voted in, you couldn't vote in the other one. This was the round where Bill became the target. Initially at first, but Andrew ended up going out, and then Bill ended up going out in the next round. Do you guys remember with these first 2 rounds, anything that was jumping out at you? I know that Natalie's name was also going out, and she was really not liking that.
Well, I'll just say I didn't do much that round, but what I started the round with saying to Natalie was that Ashley and Andrew said your name to me. Like that was completely fake. But like I threw Natalie's name out and told her, like I threw her name out to her. Like that's the first person that threw her name out. It was me telling her that someone said her name, and that was Ashley and Andrew. So I was just like, listen, Natalie, you better go find Ashley and Andrew because
Did Natalie go out that round?
No. She fucking hustled, but she had Ashley. Ashley was in the back of her head for a drag later, and Andrew did go out. Like I was like, see you, Natalie. But like the Bill thing, I didn't know Bill was a target at the start of that round. Who had Bill on their mouths?
So I wrote down that I was in a room with you, Braden, and you, Bryce, and you both. Generally, the conversation was, all right, we need to go Bill, but we can't target him now, but it needs to be.
That's what Braden said that, and I was like, okay. Braden, I was irrationally paranoid you were going to vote me out that round because I thought you'd think that the first round people weren't going to vote if their names weren't out there. So I thought you'd get like 3 votes to just knock me out. I was so scared that round, but I was like, I can't vote this round. He's going to save his.
I mean, I'm of the school of thought that if you're fairly confident, you should definitely not vote the first round.
Yeah,
like
so that's why I didn't vote.
Because anything can happen in the second round, but if you've got a handle on the first round,
I forget. Allison, did you vote that first round?
I did vote that first round. So I was in a room. I started that round in the room with Bill, and he was like, if any of you don't vote this round, and I'll know because our votes got exposed. He's like, I'm voting you out next round. And I was like, wait, what?
What a bully.
He used his vote. Like, I don't know why I believed him, but I was just like, okay, fuck.
Yeah, so the people who voted that round were Allison, John, Rayanne, Natalie, and Bill.
For me, I figured that the second round, the target was going to be whoever voted in that first round. So it was about like keeping your vote. And I remember that Allison, we were in a room right when the round ended and we were discussing who was voting and who wasn't. And I never intended on voting, so I kept my mouth shut.
Yeah, I had a couple people grill me and say like, what are you doing? Do you think you're going to vote? And I genuinely was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I still have to, figure everything out. And I knew that like, if I could get to enough rooms and touch base with enough people that I would feel good in a way where I wouldn't need to vote, because especially since Audrey was exposing who voted, I mean, I feel like that makes you an absolute sitting duck for the next round.
I wasn't worried about it though. I knew I wasn't a target at that point. So I was like, fuck it.
I am going to, just to cut in real quick, I'm going to dip out real quick because we have a special guest to join for this round, a couple rounds to chat. We have Brent from Rob Has a Podcast joining us. We're going to bring him in just a moment. Here we are.
Why are you dipping out? You're literally the host of the show. Why are you going anywhere?
There's a max limit, Brett.
Huh?
There's a 6-person max limit, and he didn't want to kick one of us out. So.
I know, but kick out Braden. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's what we said. That's what we said.
We saw enough of him last night.
That's the thing. Yeah, even when I'm throwing myself out there, it's just somehow I stay.
Yeah, well, you guys weren't in the round. He was in room 5 when he was desperate for votes, and he literally started taking off his shirt with Rayanne right there, and he was like, "Yeah, giving the gays the thirst trap that we need." So,
wait, who did that?
Braden did.
One of my many
in the round where the
Louie offered graciously to bow out to backstage for now.
Okay, thank you, Louie.
Thanks, Louie.
So that round, but that's and Brent has a lot to say about this. If you are a part of a minority that uses your vote the first half, it's like throwing someone that's bleeding into a shark pool. They're basically people just start circling and deciding which of these people is a great option, because you just go after them and they can't even use a vote to save themselves. Yeah. And Bill, if Bryce, if you had voted that first round and Bill hadn't, I'm fairly confident I would have tried to get you out that next round. It's literally just I
know you would have. Yeah, I was not going to vote unless I heard that you might have been spreading my name, and I didn't hear it. So
who were the others without votes? TR, I know you just said them, but it would be interesting.
The people who voted the first round were Allison, John, Rayanne, Natalie, and Bill.
And Brett,
which I still can't explain.
Did you hear what Bill said to Allison and to Alice's room? Listen to this thing that Bill said.
Bill told us that if we didn't vote that first round, and he told us who to vote for, and I don't remember who it was.
Andrew?
No.
No? Okay.
It was somebody else. Well, no, it was Braden. He wanted us to vote for Braden.
Wow.
But he was
salty.
He literally threatened us to vote. He was like,
I honestly feel like
we haven't lied, but if you don't vote this first round, I'm coming for you. I was like,
wait, who told Bill that Braden was after it? I was having conversations with Bill that we were going to go after Braden, and I was having conversations with Braden that was going after Bill. So it was very interesting.
No one told Bill that Braden was going after him. They just told Braden that Bill said that Braden and he were friends, which Braden was annoyed with. And then that started the whole train down the hill. By the way, before I say anything else, Sharifa, Mama, you played amazing. You were absolutely fabulous. You were I felt like you were the female Brent, because you played from Final 6 on exactly how I totally advocate how to play. Get out there, aggressive, name your target. Because people will follow along half the time, because they're I don't want to be me, if somebody else is talking, they can put all that on them. So I mean, Sequester is a game that supports big ballers, and you were totally a big baller, and you were just fucking great. So congratulations again.
Thank you. I really appreciate
that. Game, but I'm sure we will get into that.
Huh?
I said it was a very good end game, and I'm sure we'll get into that.
It was a very good end game. I thought you performed really well in the final 2 questioning, Bryce. I was living for Sharifa up until then. I think Sharifa got off her game a little bit by the whole chat fiasco thing, which gave her a bit of a bad look, and I was personally annoyed by. And then of course Audrey came on and fixed it, but by then it had been a minute and a half since the question and the whole thing with Allison had happened. Whatever. It was just a mess,
I wish that we had opening statements. Because we normally do.
No, you don't.
She
never does.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm crazy.
It's in your memory. It's one of those things where you think it happens.
Yeah, I wish I could have expounded on my game more, and I think my final questioning was okay. I was mildly articulate, but at the same time, I didn't get to go into my early parts of my game enough.
You really have to use the final. Well, like I said, I thought you did good. There is no opening.
But not great. Good, not great.
Not great. Good. Well, because you didn't win. Number one. I feel like a really great player could have at least gotten more than one vote.
I was shocked. At one vote.
But what I was going to say was, I feel like that, first of all, Sequester never has opening statements. And that's the reason why Audrey has you mute your microphones, because you may not even get a chance to talk. If none of the jurors want to hear from you, you just got to sit there and take it. So that's why she wants you to mute your microphones.
I love that.
I didn't realize that they would mute Sharifa once I was like, I'm done with you. And then she was like, wait, and they muted her. I was like, oh, look, I got the power, bro.
Yeah, which you totally do. Like, you can be like, nope, I don't want to hear from you. Nope. And like they'll literally mute them, which is like that's how it's designed. Like Audrey's into stuff like that.
I actually like that. I've seen finals. I just didn't even know that.
And then you have an opportunity to clean it up at the end with closing statements. What I was going to say was I feel like if you have stuff that you want to get out about your game specifically, don't wait until closing statements. There's somebody in the first 3 jurors that's going to give you a vague enough question to talk about what the fuck you want to talk about. Seriously. Just find a way to work it in and then go from there. Yeah,
there's going to be layups for sure.
So what part of the game do you want to talk about, TR/Brent? I know we're kind of in the early middle-ish right now.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, Brent, since you're not, I'm assuming you're not going to be able to stick with us the whole time. Is there anything in particular that you want to go over before we continue on through the rounds, or do you want to carry on?
You went out on the, was it Final 7 or Final 8? Or Final 9? Sorry.
I was out the 7 deadly sins, so 7.
7 deadly sins. Okay, so you were in the tether round then.
Oh,
okay,
yes.
So you were all in the tether round. What did you guys think of that? And did you end up voting opposite from your partner intentionally to screw them, or did you vote with your partner in order to give yourself 2 votes?
Me and Bryce started the room with Braden, so he got us to both vote for the same person.
Rayanne left that round.
Yeah. Did you guys all vote for Rayanne?
No, I didn't. At that point, I had closely aligned with Rayanne. So I was trying to save her, and I told Braden, you were like, please don't vote with her, lose her vote. And at that point, I was just a yes girl to everybody. I'm like, you want to do something? Sure, I have my own plan. But that was the round I kept bumping from room to room, trying to find people to save Rayanne. And every time I got into a chat, it was full or I was by myself. And that was like the most powerless feeling.
She came into the chat when we were talking about Rayanne, and she's like, did you just say Rayanne's name? And then she bailed. And I was like, well, I'm fucked.
Wait, was I in that chat? I don't remember that.
I don't remember. She came into the room, and I literally, Rayanne came out of my mouth, and she said, did you just say Rayanne? And I was like, F.
That is so funny.
The start of that round, Brent. The previous round, or a few previous rounds, we had started sort of pitting Allison and Rayanne against each other. So I knew there was some conflict there. And we were in a room that was Bryce, myself, and Allison at the start of that round. So my hope was that they'd be tethered. We'd be all tethered to 3 different people. And then I could just say, hey, that's 6. Let's just do Rayanne. And that would be what Allison wanted. But lo and behold, Bryce and Allison were tethered. So then we only had possibly 4 votes. And I was tethered to TR, which I thought was like the luckiest thing ever for me. But TR had more inner conflict than I
was very conflicted that round because I had been secretly going after you, Braden, I had voted you twice prior to that round. And you didn't know, or at least I was able to dodge your questioning enough where you didn't really press me much about it. But I had connected with Rayanne earlier on, and I felt really good about her and working with her. But then that round, I was very unsure what to do because I don't remember if I connected with her much that round. And then also I was worried about Braden knowing that I was like I could tell he was like starting to get suspicious of me. And he like really pressed me near the end of the round, like, hey, we're going to vote for Rayanne, right? You're going to vote with me, right? And I was just so worried that he had an LOS and he'd be safe and would know I didn't vote with him on Rayanne and would come after me the next round. So I decided to turn on her there.
I think that was pretty much the first time I ever got stuck in a room with Braden. And I got in there and I was like side-eyeing him and he was like, Allison. And I was like, no.
I think I wanted Rayanne out that round before that round even started. So I was very glad we were in a room together because I didn't know where I stood with Braden. And the fact that we were almost forced to work together, I think was great that round. And I trusted Allison. So I thought that round was pretty easy personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was also confused that round because I had been in a couple rooms with Allison prior to that round where she was vehemently against you, Braden. So when you were telling me like, oh, I definitely have Bryce and Allison voting with me, I like didn't even put two and two together that they were tethered. And I was like, I don't really with Allison. Like,
I had alliances and I had no loyalty.
Allison was a free agent as fuck. Yeah. So, but at that point in the game, like for me, I was looking at the field as if I go to the end with any woman, the woman is beating me. Like I just think that that's just the reality of like these games. So that's when I started thinking if everything went my way, which it definitely did not then, it was like it should be Rayanne, Allison, and Sharifa like in concert, like the next three. If that would have been perfect for me. I think the audience would have hated it, and
you realize as you're saying that last week AJ beat that chick who had the coronavirus like in the final two. I'm just saying.
It does happen, but I think those brings up an interesting point. Rayanne, Allison, and Sharifa were all like playing, like had like an energy to them that was sort of like unique, fair. And all three of them like a different unique energy. And so like at 7 you're starting to think, who can I maybe possibly beat? Like
who can I beat?
So
yeah, I think there was 2 people you could beat.
Actually. We got Rayanne out.
And they were both my enemies.
I sat there and advocated for Rayanne, like voting her out, and then when she got out, I think that was the first time I started making facial expressions when people I voted for got out, and I was just like,
Yeah. I remember watching that too. While I'm here, let's talk about the end game. So, Bryce, I thought that your finest moment was the final 4, where like you played it just perfect. Like it could not have been any better. It was, this is who I want out. This is who I'm sticking with, who I'm planning to vote with. If you betray me, I'm dragging you. Know that up front. And it wasn't something that you just said once. It was something you literally hammered over and over again into his head so that he would hear you loud and clear. If you betray me here, I am totally dragging you from the game. Now, of course, you ended up getting dragged anyway by somebody else, but that's besides the point. You played it great. And also, Sharifa, you played it great as well because you correctly voted with TR on the first vote to show some loyalty to him. And then on the second vote, once he said, and you heard him say that he's going to drag Jonathan from the game if he goes, you're sitting there thinking to yourself, well, he says he's going to drag Jonathan if I vote against him and get him out of the game. So why would I go to a wheel for that? And you correctly flip your vote to the right side and basically get to have your cake and eat it too. So.
Well, here was the tea for me. I was actually fine with TR leaving from jump. I wanted either TR or Bryce.
So why did you vote with him the first time?
So he wouldn't drag me.
Okay. That's good.
That was the whole thing for me because I remember the little I knew about Sequester. I remembered the final 4 so well from the live version of season 2. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was all about, I feel like this is a round that I could really easily get dragged. So how can I like massage it? So even though people know they should drag me, that they don't. And that's why I voted with TR to make sure that he wouldn't do that to me.
So the one part of your game that I didn't like, but ended up not being a non-factor was you were like, said something to the effect of, if I'm the one voted off, I'm going to randomize who gets dragged, which is not the way you should play that.
I did not like you saying that at all.
You have to name your target.
Or targeted?
Yeah. But it ended up working for you because no one was coming for you right then, which, I mean, again, I don't know how that happens. Like, I would have been voting you off at the Final 4 twice on Sundays, but no one voted for you at the Final 4.
In my head, I remembered that from the Final 4, like, if you say, I'm going to drag you, the one specific person, that gives the other 2 people a go. Someone that they know will be taken out instead of them. So that's why I wasn't going to say a direct name. And yeah, it's a 1 1/3 chance, but it's still a 1 1/3 chance you could leave versus someone else who's saying, I'm going to directly drag this person. Yeah. So that's why I made that statement.
I was afraid
if I'm telling Braden, look, I'm going to drag you, I expect the other 2 people to get on board and be like, okay, so like, I feel like that's what's going to happen over there. Like, I know I can vote Braden out. Like, I basically what I'm trying to get to happen is to get a majority. And in Sequester, you don't want to be the swing vote because, like, I know it worked out for you. Believe me, you were one way and then you flip back the other way. I got it. It worked. But usually the people in Sequester hold the swing vote as the betrayer. Like because they knew person A was against them from the jump, but person A they thought they had, and then when they don't have them, they feel betrayed by that, and then they usually take out their frustrations on them. It just so happened in this instance that you had a really great guy in TR who was like, I don't want to drag Sharifa and Bryce from the game because they played really great, and I'm going to drag the asshole who, like, nobody likes. So, yeah.
He wasn't an asshole.
He's not an asshole. Sorry, Jonathan.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think the thing that got me through this game is my ability to read people. That's what served me in the games that I've played previously to this. Mm-hmm. And I was able to read everything that you said about TR in that round.
Okay.
So cool. Sharifa, if I target you that round and I say I was afraid you were going to drag me, and when TR explicitly said he wasn't going to drag me, I was like, oh yeah, TR, bye. So who do you drag if I initially pitch your name and it's successful?
I honestly didn't think about it because at that point I didn't think that I was going to be going that round. I probably would have dragged Jonathan just because I wanted to see a fierce final two.
That's fair. I figured you would drag me or Jonathan, but I wasn't sure, and because of that, I just had to ensure that I made finals and go after TR. But I do think we both played that round pretty well. It's just even TR I think played that round great. I also didn't like your comment about the wheel. Like, you want people to think you're going to be vengeful so that they don't go after you. So saying you're going to randomize it, I was like, oh, like I'll take a 33% chance if I know I'm gonna. I mean, not actually.
I mean, like I said, this was my first one, and I threw it out there. I avoid being targeted, and I don't regret it.
It totally worked. Yeah, for real. Yeah. I think that's about it. Like, TR asked me last night when we were on the call, like, because I was telling him that he should have threatened to drag you to keep your vote on the revote, which he should have done. But then after he gets voted off there, who does he drag? And like, you understand where I'm coming from with like the dichotomy of that answer. Like, there's an audience answer and there's a you answer, and you have to decide who you're going to honor in that instance. TR.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it was something where I think no matter what I said I was going to do, and it's tough then because you brought up to me after the fact something else to think about that I didn't consider. I wasn't going to be the person that the audience hated for dragging the most interesting person out. There's no point to me. If you're out, you're out. There's nothing more you can do about it. So why are you going to ruin the game?
Everybody asked me why I didn't fight. It's because Sharifa came out the gate with such fire. I was like, I'm fine. Everybody started being like, yep, you're done. And I was like, well, fuck it. And I just sat back and I was like, good. Bye.
Sharifa stands. Don't get in the way of the stance.
With how Sharifa played in the second half of the game, I think she just played a stronger second half of the game. I just knew in my head I'm not going to drag either of the two people who have put in the work to get here, as opposed to Jonathan, who very well may have made moves that I did not see, but as far as I knew was a super reserved floater, possibly go.
I respect the hell out of that, and I think we should definitely touch on Sharifa's play and the final six and exposing the final two that she heard. So from my perspective, I made that final two because I walked in on him talking with Natalie, saying they were going to vote me out in the round where it was only me, Braden, and Natalie. So I was like, oh, I need to solidify some fake final two. I honestly did not care about my relationship with him. Like, I was totally fine cutting him. It was just interesting that you walked in on that. You played that flawlessly. I think that was your best round. And you came out, and I think that in the final two is definitely something to discuss, and I think pads the resume. So yeah, do you want to walk through, like, did you decide the round before that you were going to do that, or was it like split? I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on that.
Yeah, like, it kind of goes into my strategy for the whole game because, and I touched on this a little bit at the beginning, but I feel so much that the first half is literally just Russian roulette, and you're just hoping that the gun pointed at you doesn't have a bullet. And I knew that I wanted to just like make sure I was keeping myself safe until I got to jury. What was frustrating at jury is that at that point I was like, okay, let me establish like final twos, really close people. And every time I did, that person kept getting voted out. Like it literally in a row, it was Khalid and then John and then Angela and then Rianne and then Braden. Like that first half of jury for me was brutal, and my game was there was nothing for me to talk about at the end. So I knew if I was going to win, I had to go balls to the wall at that point, and that's why I kept everyone in the room, because the format of jumping from room to room clearly wasn't my strength. It's not what I was used to. I'm from Survivor. I'm used to having individual conversations or conversations with everybody. So I was like, if the format's not working for me, then I have to change the format. And that's why I was like, if I keep everyone in a room and I throw out a target, people are going to jump on that. And so I didn't care, truthfully, if you and Hamed really were a tight final two. All I knew, it was a reason for people to target you.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Also, I will say this really quickly, that I thought you played that round flawlessly. I will say this, though. The wheel really helped you guys out, because like all three people, and it really fucked Bryce, and like I can't remember Bryce.
Oh.
Bryce, you were not safe. Yeah. Because there were 3 threats in the game that I saw, and all 3 of them.
It was me, Allison, and Bryce were safe.
Yeah, me, you, Allison, Bryce. Yeah.
Thank God I was safe.
There were it was you, Allison, and Bryce. So Sharifa,
and then it was
you weren't safe?
Ahmed, and
No, I was
Sharifa wasn't safe. That's when she came out with that fire, and I was like, "Fuck!" She came for Hamed because he wasn't safe.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Sharifa seemed like the logical person to take out at that point, if nothing else had happened.
And you played fabulous, Sharifa. I was gonna say like I thought you were safe.
I would have made Sharifa the target because she was my target previously, and Jonathan had agreed to vote for her earlier, and I was gonna speak up and like go for you when you came after me, but then I was like, I can't, just getting one person to vote for me isn't gonna help me.
And Bryce, you probably just fucking pushed, like you pushed Hamed basically, right? Like I feel like, because there seemed like you were trying to defend it at some point, and then you're like, well, I don't give a fuck if this
when he left, he got disconnected.
I thought if Sharifa left, I would have been targeted the next round. It was my logic. And I didn't deny it. So I was like, oh, they might just come for me instead, because I thought I was a better player than, or at least bigger player than he was. So I thought if he didn't go that round, I'm gone the next round. And my psycho ass still thought Sharifa would protect me even after he was gone, because we were original room, and like I still trusted her.
Which I did.
Yeah, which is good. So I guess I played that round correctly. So I didn't really care.
I thought you played that brilliantly, because I put you in such a hot seat and you were able to deflect really, really well. And when Hamed left, like all of the target that would have been on the two of you left without.
Yeah, and that's what I thought would happen, and I'm glad.
But what's the alternate universe there? Like you say, screw you, it's not real, and you tell everyone Sharifa is a threat to win or something, and Sharifa goes.
Because I trusted Sharifa more than the other people in the game.
Yeah, and then I guess maybe Hamed or you are next. So I guess that's a harder path to the end, but maybe one
my
less
final
person
two with Hamed,
I
trusted less than Sharifa. So
maybe Hamed beats you though at the end. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
probably not.
I mean, if anybody's putting any stock whatsoever into that final two, I feel like the correct play for them is to get Hamed out there. And especially when he gets disconnected, you feel like, oh, okay, well, let's just get him out, because he was disconnected for like 2 minutes.
And then he was going on Twitter tweeting like, I could barely hear anyone the last part of my rounds. I didn't know what was going on.
I felt so bad for him.
Yeah, me too. Them's the breaks. Yeah, but Braden, I don't feel like there's any point in people not breaking up a duo there.
Yeah.
You're getting dangerously close. Like anything can happen with the final 5 safety quiz. Like the duo might be safe, and then you're going into a final 4 with a fucking duo, which kind of ended up happening with Bryce and Jonathan anyway, in that their bond was unbreakable and you couldn't get them to vote against each other. But like I don't want to go, like ideally you don't want to go into the final 4 with a duo, because you're like at best you're going to a wheel, and at worst you're probably out.
That's what I was trying to avoid, and it was the reason that I pushed what I perceived as the duos.
Yeah.
And if I had known that Bryce and Jonathan were as close as they were, although I couldn't have gone after Jonathan in Final 5 because he had safety. That's when I had safety, was Final 5.
Okay. So, yes. Yeah. Was it TR? Did you have safety as well?
I did. Yes.
Yes, that was when it was. Yeah, because we were rooting for. I was rooting for either TR or Sharifa at the Final 5, and then like you both won, and I was like, yes, like.
I actually didn't have that close of a bond with Jonathan until the round where everyone had to save someone.
Yeah.
And we didn't even make a deal to save each other, but because we were in that original room and we vibed, I claimed that we had a deal, and I was like, oh, I made a deal with Jonathan. Because the people that I was in a room with that were trying to make deals, I wasn't really close to, and I was like, nah, like, screw that.
Just to be clear, I wasn't like rooting against you, Allison, or you, Bryce, or anything. Like, I kind of wanted Jonathan out, but then I saw that wasn't going to happen. Like, once Sharifa opened her mouth and was like, Allison, I want your ass.
Everybody thought I had alliances with people. I had alliances with nobody. Like, nobody. Like, she came at me with, like, about the duo thing, and I was like, what duo? In my head, but I was frozen because she came with such intensity at me, and I was like, dude, where? Why?
I feel like. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just saying that it doesn't matter if you do or don't have alliances. If people perceive you as having some like agency, then that's going to be perception.
Oh, Braden, everyone thought you were running the beginning of the game. I know it was your strategy to cause chaos, which I think you might have had to do, but everyone's like, Braden is running this game.
I went back through the comments, and Jesus, people, like clearly no one was listening to me for like the first 5 votes anyways. I was trying to dodge votes. I wasn't putting votes together.
I thought you were a meat shield, and I realized that.
I think it was a disservice to some people, other people, like Bryce's TRs, Allison, Sharifa, like a lot of people, Angela, Natalie, were like putting together votes. And then there was, a couple of the Charlie Browns that were just like the Hamids and Yonjans that were just Khalids that were just pissed I didn't go because they weren't putting together votes. They were just putting down Braden. But I was not. I mean, I was just trying to stay alive.
I have to go soon, but I wanted to tell you, Bryce, I thought your only mistake, was not targeting Sharifa at the Final Four. Like, I feel like it was just out of curiosity. This is your first mini that you played, right? Or not?
No, it's actually my third.
Really?
I won 7th twice.
Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so
you should know the Sequester community well enough to know, like, that this community is like probably the most inclusive community that there is. And anytime there's like a big baller woman in the final 2, like she's gonna take the votes unless she totally blows up in the final 2. Like even Braden could tell you that. So
the votes I thought I had Allison, and based on her speech, still thought I had Allison. I thought I had Braden. I thought I had Jonathan, and I thought that I could pull in one more. So I agree that targeting Sharifa might have made sense. I truly thought that she would have dragged me. I didn't know that she would have, just out of spite, I guess. I don't know her enough as a person.
I would have told you I would have dragged you, but I value gameplay over anything. I would have taken Allison.
Yeah, and I just didn't know that, and I thought I would have had more of a chance against Sharifa. Yes, I agree that big baller women tend to win. But I guess I cockily thought I'd have more of a chance.
Yeah, I feel like you have to get to the end with Jonathan, and failing that, you absolutely have to get to the end with TR.
I wanted to get to the end with Jonathan, but I didn't think it was possible.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible either. Not with that configuration of Final Four. If you can somehow keep I keep calling you Jessica. It's because you know why. I'm so sorry, Allison, but I know you're not Jessica. If you can somehow keep Allison in at the Final 5 and get somebody else out at the Final 5, then, but I know that the safety sort of complicates things there. So,
no, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. All right, I gotta go because I need to make a call. But you guys are awesome. Congratulations again, TR. Congratulations on your game, and Bryce, congratulations on making the Final 2. You did awesome.
Thank you, Brent.
All right, later. Bye.
All right, we're bringing Louie back in. Hey, Louie.
Hello again.
Wow, how was the view from the sidelines? Was it good?
Oh, it was wonderful. It was I laid on my couch.
Okay.
No, you're all good. It was fascinating. Couple things to bring up. One, I think justice for Jonathan. He did not play that bad of a game, and also much credit for staying up. Like over the course of the game in his back window, you can see the sun rising. Like I'd like everyone to try to play at 4 to 6 a.m. and see how well they fare. I can't imagine I would be on my top game at that moment either. So I think he did an all right job. My question for Allison is that it seemed from the outside that you and Jonathan were super tight. I mean, you were in a room together basically the entire latter part of the game, describing like your Final 4 plans.
My whole thing though was that Jonathan was an easy person for me to throw because every time I told him let's do this, he was like, yeah, let's do that. And so I just kept him around because I could just be like, that was a solid somebody who would vote with me. Like, no matter what I said, he was like, sure. Until we got to the end, and then I realized that he started speaking up, and he was like, yeah, I got to vote with Sharifa because I have an alliance with her. I was like, you fuck.
He threw you under the bus real quick there.
Yeah,
as soon as his name was mentioned.
I knew when I kept going back to him and like making sure I had this connection with him that he was kind of wishy-washy, and I was like, I don't know if that's such a good idea. I kept doing it anyway, though, because I was just like, fuck it, whatever.
And then I think the other big thing, we had a big moment that wasn't touched on, which I think is the first time it's happened in Sequester, and it was really impressive. So we have to give her due. Natalie, when she was booted and had to drag someone out of 2 LOSs before she left. I've never seen anything like that.
I was so mad.
I was freaking out.
She had 3 people who voted for her, and she picks one. They have an LOS. What does she do? She picks someone who didn't vote for her.
We made a deal, me, her, and Braden, that we wouldn't drag each other, and I honestly was going to stay true to that.
Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. But this is something that, if you guys have watched season 3 of Live Sequester, you should go check it out. This is something that people and myself from the pre-jury really hated about the jury's play, was they knew Zach had an LOS the entire fucking endgame. And in Live Sequester, you're not even like out. Like, you still have a chance to battle back, so your game's not over. But all you have to, if you know someone has an LOS and you have the opportunity to drag, just screw people over. Like, anyone you think has an LOS, you might as well drag them and try to
100%. Yeah, that was nuts. I didn't tell people he had an LOS, though. She couldn't have known who did and who didn't.
Yeah, well, she probably was just after PR. But the chat,
which is so annoying, because let me tell you, I never once was ever going after her. And in fact, the round where Bill went home, we came up with the plan where we were like, okay, we're going to go Bill. And I told you, I was like, okay, but Bill makes me nervous. And I know he's already called me out on like my verbiage.
Together, right?
I'm sorry?
We were in the room when this happened, right? It was me, you, and Natalie?
This was probably at some point in the game. This was, but before that, at the beginning of the game or the round, I mean, with Braden, we were talking and we decided that we were going to go vote for Bill. I think it was like you, me, and Angela. I think it was like our starting room again that we got back together or something. Yeah. And we decided we were going to go Bill. And I proposed like, okay, but I'm really nervous because he's like already called me out on like how I'm speaking in certain rounds about the game. So he's like very strategic with the game. We need to have a decoy name in case you land in a room together, because if you're just saying, oh, I don't know, he's going to see right through that and know he's the target. So I was like, let's push Natalie as a decoy name, and we'll say that if we end up in a room with Bill, but otherwise it's Bill. And then Natalie heard the plan, and like I told you guys the plan, Sharifa, I think that's been maybe what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And she was like, okay, yeah, I'm good, sounds good. Then I wound up in a room with Natalie like a few minutes later, and I was like, okay, the plan's still good, Natalie. And she's like, okay, cool, so we're voting out Braden. And I had to be like, yeah, that definitely was not the plan, Natalie. That's not the plan.
Wait, so who did Natalie vote for? Did I get votes that round? Braden, you genuinely did vote for yourself, right? Because Natalie left with 3 votes.
I voted for Braden.
Ash, Bryce, and Angela were the only ones who voted for Natalie.
So did anyone vote for me? When I walked into the room, Natalie said she was going to vote for me and Ahmed, but Ahmed didn't vote for me. So I don't even know if I got votes or not.
So I think you might have got Natalie's vote, and you might have got one more.
Yeah, I think
I didn't. I voted for myself. I think I said this in the game because I wanted to look smart.
I didn't know until last second. Everyone's like, Braden has an LOS. I was leaning towards Natalie anyway, but once she said that, I was like, I have to vote Natalie to hedge my bet because everyone's probably going to vote for Braden anyway.
Yeah, there was enough on me. Like, I had quite a bit of the majority.
This is kind of going off topic, but one thing I want to make sure to touch on is Sharifa's decision to click red and not green. So yeah, that's something I want to talk about at some point. But yeah. Let's do it now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Whatever you guys want. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me at that point, what you have to remember is that all of the people that I had tried to form really close allegiances with to go endgame literally left back to back to back to back. Even Braden, finally, when I trusted you, you left that round. And so at that point, I felt like I was going to be the target, because if all of my closest relationships are leaving, then that means I'm left in the game with people that I don't have the closest relationship with. So when she said it's a risk, but it could potentially save you, I was like, fuck, I'll go for it. And I don't know if the result would have been different because I was still probably going to go after Ahmed anyways. If all 6 of us were vulnerable, but yeah, I'm going to touch that button.
I was gonna do the red button, but then I was like, no, because I honestly didn't. At that point, Sharifa hadn't started on anything yet. She hadn't said anything, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm okay here.
I felt safe too.
As soon as the wheel got done and we unmuted, and she I was like, fuck, I made the wrong choice. Fuck.
I felt safe that round too. I do think though the button worked out in my favor because who knows what could have happened otherwise. I am safe that round. So
yeah, the wheel worked
thank you,
in
Sharifa.
my favor for sure. But I was. She unmuted and she went for home. She was like, bye.
Well, I felt like at that point, it was either going to be me or TR who left that round. If things had been left, because in my head, I'm like, okay, Bryce and Ahmed must have something. Allison and Jonathan must have something. Because y'all were always in a room together. Every time I go in a room, y'all were together. And I was like, okay. So I felt like there was potential for the 2 duos to hook up and go for either myself or TR.
TR's definitely the person I had the least pulse on the game. I think that was because we weren't in a room that often together, but I had no idea who you were with. Whereas I feel like I had a pretty good pulse on Braden and Sharifa. I feel like Sharifa was kind of close to some of the girls, and I could sense that her and Braden kind of had something, but I had no idea who was with TR. No clue.
I mainly was aligned out of obligation to people. So if I felt like I wound up in a position where someone would be like, hey, let's like commit safety to each other, or like to start out with like the starting room with Braden. And like, I knew I saw people called me Braden's puppet in the chat in the first part of the game because people thought I was just keeping him safe. I was trying to keep him safe because I knew how much everyone was coming after him. And it wasn't until I started like I did vote you a couple of times before you ended up going home. That was only because it seemed to be that would have been the majority vote. So when I did end up turning, I did really try to keep you safe for like the first 3-4 rounds, even before I did turn and start voting for you. So I voted Chandler, Nick, Bill before I voted for you the first time. So I went 4 rounds where I did really try to push safety on you. And anytime people brought you up, I would always be like, hey, we should keep a target for later in the game. And, you know, I think we could get someone else out that's easier now. And I tried.
So the round Braden left, I actually voted for Sharifa. I'm just now. Who did you vote for, Braden? Did we? I don't remember that round. It's a little gray, a little too many drinks. But who did you vote for?
The plan was Hamid.
Wait, am I? Wait. Oh, wait. What? Wait. Let me count votes. No, never mind. That's a different round. I'm crazy.
I voted
my ass out.
I voted
for Braden because I was in a room with Jonathan at that point, and he's like, "Let's get Braden out, and then we'll get Sharifa out." And I was like,
"Sharifa,
okay.
Did you vote Hamid?" So it might have been 4-3.
I didn't vote Braden because I did not. That was the one round I did not want Braden to go. I voted Hamid.
So I think it really was if I had ended in the right room, maybe with Allison or maybe with TR. Maybe we could have got Hamid out, but it probably. I feel like. Yeah, I feel like we made the wrong move there, I made the wrong move for myself,
round,
and probably just should have said TR or something, because then people would be like, "Oh yeah, TR."
That round was really the round where I pretty much stayed in the room with Jonathan because we'd already decided, and I was like, I think enough people have it out for Braden that we could probably throw this without having to talk to anybody. Hamid was just like just like Jonathan, just kind of a floater. Nobody cared. And I was like, he's not. So I was just like, enough people got it out for Braden. He's done.
That's fair.
Can we talk about the fact?
Oh, go on. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, Braden, to give credit where credit is due, the fact that you made it to Final 7 was so fucking impressive.
Yeah, despite the fact that everybody was out for you, holy shit.
You're such a target. Like, what was so nice for me coming into this game is this was like the first time I played in a while where I didn't have a reputation. Because I get away with being a wolf in sheep's clothing. Like, that is like my go-to tactic. And it was really nice not having that for the first time in a long time. And Braden, like, everyone had your name on their lips pretty much from the beginning. And the fact that you got to Final 7, like, so fucking impressive.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Thanks. I think it's just, like, and people, I think there's like a thought, a line of thought that like, if a decent amount of people know you, it's going to be easier for you. If a decent amount of people know you, it's going to be harder for you. But I think it's just like any like game, like where it's like you come in with a role almost. And like, you know, if your role is sort of everyone knows you or something, it's just like you have to play with those cards. Whereas, you know, maybe the role is generic white dude or like whatever else. Like there always is like you sort of have your play set and your role to start, and it's just like do what you can with it. So it worked for me this time. Like usually my go-to is like cause chaos at the start and
do you think that you really benefited from the new style of LOSs? Do you think that probably really helped you out?
Yeah, but the thing is, like the last game that I played with the old style, I still won 3 LOSs or something.
Wow.
You know,
it's just in your blood. You're like a magnet to them.
I play a lot of orgs, so I'm very like quick to. If I was allowed, I would have had my phone for all of the typing because it's always a quicker connection than people's typical internet connection. Like, I don't know. So I do think like sometimes it works, but I'd rather play a flashy game and have fun and go out jury or pre-jury, which is kind of what I tend to do at the start. And then it's like if it works, like then it like you can start like reining it in. And I was being a lot more logical and level-headed near the end. I don't know if you guys noticed. Like I wasn't blowing up. I was not blowing up on anyone near the end, except for Allison.
Hey, but I gotta say, so Sharifa, man, I thought I had you pegged, and then you came with that. I was like, holy shit, I'm done. But I mean, and then in the jury, you looked like you were afraid when I was like, nah, I'm done with you, and you were just like, what? Wait, what? And then I voted for you to win because I was like, I gotta give the queen.
I was shocked. When I heard it was a 6-1, I was like, oh, Allison voted.
I thought Bryce won.
I saw your face.
The chat thought that Bryce won too. They thought that all of us were bitter.
Everybody thought I was bitter and that I voted for Bryce, but I
wasn't 100% sure I was going to win. But when I heard it was 6-1, if it was 5-2, I would have been like, okay, maybe I lost. But 6-1, I was like, okay, I won.
Because I thought you for sure had Allison and Jonathan. So I was like, if it's 6-1, then my only vote was Rayanne. Damn. I'm done.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about the round you left, Allison. You've gotten a bunch of crap. I think you would have left anyway, just based on the dynamic, but just kind of not necessarily completely fighting. So I know a lot of people have given you crap for that. So I'm just interested in how you respond to
that. So there were a lot of thoughts going through my head at that point. One, I want to make it clear that I didn't come into the whole game at all expecting to stay past like round 5, because the whole reason I played was TR convinced me to play, and then I was really unsure about doing it because I am horribly introverted. In fact, I'm talking more now than I have probably all week, and I was just like, I don't know. And then when I got to like round 10, I was like, holy fuck. And then I got to final 5 and I was like, oh my god. And Sharifa came at me, and what kind of happened was, like, I knew she was coming with a fire, but I didn't know she was coming with a fire at me. So when she unmuted and she came at me, I was like, I was just kind of speechless. I couldn't think of anything to say. Because I could have thrown Jonathan under the bus. I could have probably thrown him under the bus.
It was just between you and Bryce, right?
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't think there's anything you could have done there.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not trying to trash your game. I think you played amazingly, and this is your first mini. They're so stressful, and when everyone just kind of comes at you so hard, like it can be hard to just like even respond. It's just like, damn, like I know I'm screwed. What's the point? So I think people were a little.
The thing is that at some point I recognized that Sharifa had the room, and I recognized that pretty quick. So I was like, it's really pointless. So I was like, well, I'll just sit back and be like, fuck it, whatever, fuck all of you.
You also took all of my pent up energy because I had I'm a cracked player. One of the Survivor games I did, I was on a tribe of all winners and I forced rocks on the first vote. I like big moves.
It was really funny at that point because I had an inkling that everybody thought that I was probably really bitter because I went after Angela when I heard she was spreading my name with a vengeance.
That was fun.
You would, anytime someone said your name, you always knew and you always went after that person.
Yeah. And so everybody thought I was going to be some bitter, angry bitch. And I was like, you know what? This is going to work in my favor because I'm going to go out and people are going to be like, she's going to fucking tear Sharifa, she's in jury, she's gonna make sure she don't win. And I was like, this is gonna work in my favor.
You definitely embraced it, and that was fun to watch.
And since we're on this, can we talk about the cheating scandal, please?
Of course.
Oh yes. Okay. I because I didn't think it was a cheating scandal at all. I didn't mention it at all in the jury speech. I could have been like, "Oh my gosh, she's a cheater. How can you vote for her?" But just out of class, because I knew you didn't. I was I cannot do anything.
Okay, so look, here's how it went in my head. You literally said something about the jury chat, and I was like, oh yeah, you're in the jury chat, just to make sure the audience knew that you weren't supposed to be in there. Because the entire reason I performed the way I did on the jury thing when I came in and I told you I was done with you was just for the drama. I was already voting for you. I was just making a whole bunch of shit up at that point.
Girl, you had me shaking.
You broke my heart, Allison. You taunted me with the thought I had your vote.
She deserved the crown. She came with a fire, and I was like, she needs it.
She played great.
That was so weird for me because you have to remember this was the first time I ever played Sequester, and I had Skype open because we had the little chat where we voted and did all our stuff. And next thing I know,
you had no idea that you weren't supposed to be reading it, and I knew I just had to make a show of things.
I heard the chat blew up. They're like, she's reading it.
Here's where I'm coming from because I didn't realize Allison was just putting on a show. So here's where I'm Allison comes in before me. Allison brings up the whole cheating. I'm seeing in the jury chat, people, they're speculating. Did Sharifa cheat? Did she not cheat? She was added. How early was she added? Blah, 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 blah. Allison comes in and calls you out on it. You don't really clarify much or shoot it down too much. It gets kind of briefly mentioned.
I didn't let her. That was my whole strategy.
I tried to say something and I got muted.
Gotcha. Okay, so in my head, I didn't register that. So I was just thinking she could have spent more time talking about that. She seems guilty. And then when I came back in, I put it forth. I put it forth. I called you out. Audrey came on and clarified. However, when Audrey left during your guys' answering my terrible, terrible jury question, the jury chat was still realizing, oh wait, Sharifa had been added earlier than we realized. She was added about an hour or so ago. So, and Audrey even said, I really don't know how much or little of this chat she might have saw. So it's up to you guys at this point what you want to do with your votes. So when I re-brought that up at the end of that round, it's just because that was going on and they had confirmed, okay, yeah, before when I came on and said it was because I thought she was only in there for a minute. Turns out she was in there for an hour. So it's up in the air if there was cheating, how much cheating was done, what. I wanted to float a shadow of a doubt, but you had swayed me. I was going to vote for you.
What did I said something I saw a flash of rage.
You did. I love that. That was great.
Well, because for me, it was so frustrating because one, and I love Audrey, but I really wish the host had taken more, what's the word I'm looking for? Accountability in that round. Because I didn't hack my way into that chat. They added me. And I'm a new player. I have no idea what's going on. All I saw was that Allison hated me. Genuinely, I was in there once. I'm I don't know what's going on. Because I wouldn't have openly talked about it if I was actively cheating, because I was the one who brought up seeing that. So how does that make sense?
I thought it was a slip up. I thought it was you didn't mean to say it, and it was oh fuck, you got caught.
What did you think? I hacked my way into
No, I knew what happened. I took the opportunity you gave me to bring up the chat, and I made you look like a cheater because I said you were reading the chat. I knew you were in there. And then you were like, what? I was like, you're not supposed to be in there. And then I was like, nah, I'm done with you. And I didn't give you the chance to defend yourself.
It was
I knew somebody was going to run with that.
From the outside, as what was already a good game, it kind of put a cherry on top because the entire chat went nuts. It ranged from shut the whole game down, cancel it, it's over, hand Bryce the win, to, Sharifa did nothing. She's played an amazing game. She didn't know she was there. It was phenomenal. And it was definitely it leaves that mini to be remembered. It's just another reason for it to be remembered. It was a lot of fun.
Scandal,
and then it pivoted to after, like, it even worked more well because the 6-1 vote. It just made everyone assume that the vote was for Bryce. And then it made no difference whatsoever to any of the jurors anyway.
I'm going to be completely honest. When they announced the vote, she literally said the winner of Sequester is Sharifa. I thought it was one of those things where she was going to be like, it's not Sharifa.
Not Sharifa.
For a whole minute, I was like, wait, I won, right?
I thought you won. You thought you won. You were smiling and you were trying to hide it, Bryce. Like, and I when my name was said, I was floored because every time like the juror came in, I felt really confident about Rayanne and I felt good about Angela. But every jury member after that, I felt like y'all were dissatisfied with my answers and didn't value my game and the fact that I, floated in the first half. And so I was like, Bryce has it. I don't think this jury likes me that much.
The way I looked at with my vote was I think that Bryce played a little harder in the beginning of the game and you maybe like floated socially more in the beginning of the game and then stepped it up in the second part of the game. Whereas I think Bryce was a little bit more reserved. And I honestly, to me, that's where it came down to. I think that's the more impressive gameplay. If you were able to avoid the Russian roulette and you were able to, socially float up into the point where it came time to kick it into high gear and show what you were worth. I think to me that showed like a good arc for a winner. No offense, Bryce, but
no, none taken. Her final 6 was very flashy, and I think my final 4 gave me somewhat of a chance of basically screaming and blackmailing Jonathan. But I think her game was more of a progression, where mine was just straight line of going wildly hard, and she went so hard at the end. Also in the chat, I think it's worth bringing up. It was funny. I was like, well, I'm not in the chat, so I don't know. I don't know what the question was, but that was like so much shade.
I wanted to set you on fire when you said that.
I honestly don't remember saying that. Like the only blurry part was like the jury questioning. And that was when I started to gray out a little bit. But yeah, that's hilarious.
Some because I obviously wasn't around for a lot of those rounds. Like both of you to me were like good winners for our, and I think TR is to thank for that. I think Jonathan wouldn't have won anyways, but it's always nice to see like such a fighting final 2. One like inside baseball thing for any of the people that are here is that like, though Allison said that stuff outwardly, so what you guys all saw was like, oh, Sharifa's game is maybe sunk. Allison then went on like a tirade for a couple minutes in the jury chat, which I think then worked, like, it seemed like almost so bitter that I felt like the jury chat was like, well, fuck that. We'll vote for Sharifa just because Allison, like, was so, like, took it too far, was so mean or whatever. I was just and I think at the end of the day, I think most of the jury had an idea, what they were voting on and probably just felt like the jury chat wasn't giving anyone an advantage, even if Sharifa had combed through it and like looked at everything really closely, she would have just basically guessed what you would guess anyways. Like maybe Allison won't vote for me, maybe a few others won't vote for me, but that's kind of like the knowledge that you guys have anyways, right? I don't know, like to me I was like, whatever. I was just living, I love a good like controversies, so I was laughing. I like messaged Brent directly to be like, it wasn't, because Brent was just like, oh, she was reading the YouTube chat. It was just like, no. I just got added to the Sequester jury by accident.
People were like, I'm looking over to the right, so I'm cheating. I had my notes, and I was trying to. For me, I've been in finals so many times at this point that I was trying to take notes to like, listen, I'm a boss bitch, and y'all don't even know. So I was taking notes about like, okay, this person needs me to touch on this, and this person needs me to touch on this. So I kept like going to the right, writing this down, and it was just that final tribal. I'm so used to Survivor. That final was just like, it was a little bit brutal for me, and the fact. It tipped.
I think I looked like a dick because I was openly laughing at some points. You called yourself a floater. I would say under the radar. You're like, yeah, I floated.
I should have said under the
radar. I openly started laughing. I was like, she just called herself a floater. Like, which
I should have said under the radar. You're right.
Under the radar in the beginning, but you said floater, and I was like, oh my god.
Well, no, because here's the thing. Like floating, we're talking about strategic floating. I think people utilize the word floating to also mean someone who's not doing anything.
Negative connotation, 100%.
when I use floating, I'm talking about like Jun floating. I'm talking about Andy floating, where you're like strategically making sure that you're socially connected to everyone and to all sides. And that's hard to maneuver. Everyone felt good with me. That is hard to do. And so that's how I use floating. And I think my terminology didn't really go well there. But at that point, I just wanted to be honest. Like, I couldn't say like, hey, I balled out in the first half, because that wasn't true. I lost all my close allies from jury on. Thank you. Yes, Marcus, floater versus coaster.
No, I agree. And I'm not trying to trash. I just think that one comment it was something you shouldn't have said. But I mean, you freaking destroyed me.
Hindsight 2020.
What the hell can I say?
It's very hard in this game, I feel like, for there's really not solid packs. It's such a short amount of time. You don't really know anyone. You're not creating, and Sharifa, you touched on this before, is you're not really creating firm groups or firm alliances or people that you're going to go to bat for in such a short amount of time. So it really is all floating. It's clusters for the round, and you're really bouncing back and forth to different alliances every time. And depending on the game, I mean, like if you look at the chain, when one person gets immunity and you're going down, it really just depends on who you're in the room with when it starts. There's no one you're ever looking out for, really.
I think that's an amazing point. And someone at like Final 10 or something was like, oh my gosh, everyone has so many alliances. I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, literally every round is a clusterfuck. I was like, there's no set alliances.
I feel like maybe Natalie said that. I feel like I might have been in the room with you.
Yeah, I literally was dumbfounded. I was like, what are you talking about?
I was just amazed to find out that everybody thought I had alliances when it turns out I had 0 through the whole game. I just ran around doing whatever the fuck I wanted, really, honestly.
And Allison and I knew each other before the game, and we didn't talk game once, like the entire game, pretty much. Like there was like a room or two we come in and go, hey, what are you doing? Is this a plan? Okay, cool. We didn't work together once, like at all. So she truly was like a free agent.
I had like a connection through a friend of one person, but I don't even think I talked to him. Who was it? Danny? Because I played with my friend Yusuf, is friends with him. And that was like the only person I had any sort of like vague connection with, but then we never even talked going in. And I think I voted him out pretty early.
The YouTube chat, Marcus is like, they know each other?
Yeah, no, I'm shook. I did not realize you guys were close at all. I actually have
so we both run a Discord.
Yeah, I gave her tips on like, because she's not as familiar with the game, so I like kind of coached her a little bit on like, hey, just make sure that you're not like being the type of person who's like, what are we hearing? What are you guys doing? Just play the game. Don't be afraid to name names. I coached her on some of the twists that might come up, and that was really it. When the game started, I tried Braden. When some people were like throwing her out, I would be like, I got good vibes from her, but that was really like the only fight I put up. And we could even see at Final 5. I said 0 words when she was the main target. I sat there.
We didn't have a pact. I sat there. I could have gave me some tips, and then I kind of ran with the don't be the wishy-washy person. So as soon as they told us to go in the first round, I unmuted and I was like, yeah. So how about Chandler? And
yeah, I'm not at all. Like, I'm very glad you played. I actually have to bounce. Thank you guys so much for hosting. Congrats on your win. You did amazing. You all played very well, and this was fun. Take care.
Bryce, do you before you go, do you have any social media or anywhere you want people to follow you on?
Sure. Bryce B. Williams is my Instagram. Twitter is Bryce.Williams63. And yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks, Bryce. Good game, man. Thank God he's gone. All right. Well, guys, do you have any other? We kind of bounced around a bit when Brent popped in, which is totally fine. Is there anything that we missed? Anything you guys feel like we should still cover? Anything that's really just weighing on you?
God, we touched a lot.
We did.
Let's talk.
Where did we stop?
Or chat. If you guys have any questions that you want to ask, feel free to send those now, and we can maybe answer some of those before we start to wrap up.
I do have a question for TR and Braden. What did you end up basing your vote on at the end? Because I felt like you both were going to vote for Bryce.
It was what I said, that I really felt that you played a stronger second game. I thought that I didn't really interact with you a crazy amount in the first part of the game, but when we did come across each other, you were super nice and you were super social to me. And so I was like, okay, well, she's clearly playing the social card in the first part of the game. And then where it counted, when it mattered, like when it was on the line in the rounds where the audience wants the blood and wants the the name calling and the threats, you brought it. So I that was it for me. Even with the cheating aside, I mean, if it had come out that you really had 100% cheated, I might have been swayed the other way. But it still was like, even still, like if she just was at it, that doesn't discount the first 3 or 4 hours of the game that she played. So it was that's where I ended up basing my vote on.
So in almost any other game that wouldn't be televised, I would have voted for Bryce to win. Like I typically will like vote for something that I think, because I just didn't see a lot of your game and I worked with Bryce and saw a lot of his game. So like typically I would have voted Bryce if it wasn't Sequester. When I think of Sequester, I really think of like the show and the Audrey aspect and like winners representing like an episode and you know the winners at war, like that there's going to be a mini down the line. And to me, I was just more excited by you being the winner and by you going to play that game than Bryce. So that was more, for me, it was more like an audience, like an outside perspective of the game. I think like strict game, maybe I would have voted Bryce, but I was I was very torn. Like I was very in the middle. So like you were right to think that I was leaning to Bryce, but I just was like, Sharifa's a fucking queen.
I really, like, I'm not just saying that. I really thought it was 6-1 Bryce, and I just had it.
As did a lot of people in the chat. Even all of your supporters too. They were like, "Fuck, it's Bryce. They're all bitter. Fuck them."
Because they were all like, "Allison's gonna throw the jury because she's so fucking bitter," and I was like, "Nah."
Yeah, and I look back too, and people like when I did my question, people were like, bitter. I was like, I'm not bitter at all. Like I'm literally like, as soon as I was out, I was like, you know, who would be fun to win if I was watching? Like I really wanted TR was like at the top of my thing, and then like I think you, Sharifa, and like I'm trying to think who else. Maybe Bryce or Allison were like close, and then to me, Jonathan and Hamid were like less exciting. And looking back on the comments, I think a lot more people did like Hamid, like he was doing more and was like more loved than I expected.
But I wanted a one-on-one conversation with him so badly. I wanted an Arab alliance between him and Khalid and me, because that's never happened to me before. Like I'm always the only Arab person in every game that I play. I had never had that happen, and I was able to connect with Khalid, and then he left. And so I kept trying to connect, and like by that point, I felt like he had established relationships with everyone but me. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go after my final 6.
He won the audience over with his dance moves. If we could comment on the dance moves for a second. They weren't necessarily dance moves, but it was a lot of moving that it was extremely impressive. That he did not stop running in place for like a solid 20 minutes.
I would like to comment briefly on the punishment round. I've been a big fan of the punishment rounds, watching them lately. And that was actually a mini goal of mine to get to a punishment round because I just find them so fun. Braden, I enjoyed your clapping twist. Allison, I think you were one of the few that didn't get one. It was you and
I didn't get a punishment. I really wanted the clapping one though. I was like hoping if I got a punishment, that was it.
But what was so funny was like my punishment was the whispering one, and I found myself, I would be in rooms with people, and it was mainly Jonathan and I think you, Allison, but I would be in rooms with people and I'd be whispering and everyone else would start whispering too. And I like didn't understand what that was. It was pretty funny.
That's the punishment I got worked out so well for me, because it meant that if people wanted to find me, they knew where to go. Because they
even number room punishment, right?
Yeah, there's only 2 rooms I could be in, and that was really nice because the round prior, I was literally trying to find Rayanne, jumping from room to room to room to room. So I was like, thank God, people know where to find me. This was the best one I could have gotten. I lucked out for that round, honestly.
So speaking of that punishment, I think the room punishment is the worst. It can be the worst punishment.
It can be.
If you get the silence one, that's like
silence is bad. I mean, Bryce was almost silence, but like I feel like if I got the room one, I was like, I'll be gone. People will just go to room 1 through 5, and I'll be gone. I was trying to blockade you, Sharifa. Like I was staying between 2 and 4 because I just didn't want Hamid or Jonathan to like get in your ear. But little did I know was that TR was the one that I had to look out for that round. Fuck.
Well, I was like, it's so funny, Braden, and I really wish that we had gotten to play without you having a reputation, because I would have been so much closer to you because you have an energy that I just vibe with.
Likewise.
But what was happening is the entire game, like everyone was just pumping you up as this really big threat. So I'm like, I can't trust Braden. I can't trust Braden. And I didn't trust you until that round when it was just pretty much me and you in that room. And I was like, no, my initial vibe on this guy is right. I do want to play with him. I do feel like I can trust him. And then of course that was the round you left. I was so
late. Yeah, that sucks.
If only you would have talked to me earlier, because I just figured you had it out for everybody. I was like, I can't trust him either. And then you started like talking to me, and I was like, well, maybe he could have been an ally this whole fucking time. And I just, because I everybody else had it out for you, and so did I.
Well, as soon as I started turning others, TR turned on me.
Yeah. I do agree with what Sharifa said. I think that if we had played a game where you had no reputation, I would have stayed loyal to you. It was mainly like part of me was like, oh, I'm going to keep him safe because I know everyone else will get him out and he's a target for now. But that was because of your reputation. Like based off just energy alone and gameplay, like I definitely would have been loyal to you, and I probably would have been screwed for it in the end. So
we would hang out in the real world. I feel like
I agree. We're starting to get a couple of things from the chat that maybe we can comment on before we close out for here. There's to start out.
Do we answer?
Yeah, go for it.
Probably. The only thing that might affect it is when it happens, because I'm probably moving back to South Carolina until quarantine ends because I'm in New York. I'm a theater director. And so that's the reason I'm in New York. It's also the reason that I wanted to get everyone in a room and strategize with them, because that's what I do in my job, is convince a room of people to do what I need them to do.
The worst thing you did for me. That was the worst thing. When she did that, I was like, I'm fucked, because I really wanted to be like, can we just leave the room? Like everybody who was safe in the final 6, I was like, hey, y'all 3, let's leave the room. But she fucking took control of that room and owned it.
Well, because the going from room to room was not working for me, and I was like,
I knew that.
We're all gonna stay in here and we're gonna have that conversation. But most likely, I will play Winners at War because I'm itching to play a Winners at War season. So most likely.
Louie, you're gonna play Winners at War, right?
Oh, I'll be there. I'm counting down the days. I appreciated Sharifa winning to keep Bryce out, so I can keep the role as the underrepresented generic white guy. So,
I wanted to say this when he was here, but I remember writing notes about the people that we were in the initial room with, and I wrote for Bryce. I was like, shishat, straight white guy, probably plays Xbox. He's drinking a Mountain Dew energy drink. Like, I was awful. I was stereotyping the hell out of Bryce.
Wow,
that's hilarious. I mean, you probably are not far off. Allison, this is from Bill in the chat, who is disputing what you said. He said,
I already addressed that.
Oh, you did? Okay, gotcha. You just said, I don't remember. Well, great. Great, perfect. That's good. Well, unless the chat has anything else for us, I think that's we're winding down here. And unless you guys have anything else, final things you want to say, thoughts?
Gabe Ruiz in the chat asked, oh no, well.
Oh, something else?
Yeah. Just because I think I part of it was I thought Bryce would be kind of boring and go mid game in like a Winners at War thing. I think like Sharifa has a really, hopefully not a lot of people. I mean, oh shit.
That's why I didn't put this up, because I didn't want to put a target.
There's a lot of like other like awesome female winners from these minis that could be a good fit with Sharifa. Louie, you're gonna have to get in there.
I'm used to being the underdog. I managed to win with 0 people working with me, so we'll try for that again. Hopefully, people want to work with me this time.
Susie, Beth, like there's some other queens out there, right? So it'll be a very exciting mini. Oh, and if she plays Alex Willett as well, like there's gonna be some queens in that game, so. Could be interesting. Could be a fight. I think it'll be a bit of a dog fight between some of the women and
I would have said half of what I said if I knew Louie was playing that.
We have a final question here before we end things.
Why would you do that, Malka? No.
Anyone want to hit?
Pink.
Pink.
Hand crown.
Nice.
Purple.
Red.
I used to always have purple shoes in high school.
Mine's actually two colors. It's gray and like the mint green. Blue.
Mint green's good. I do love a good mint green.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for the great note to end on. Louie, you want to tell everyone what we got coming up and how they can watch it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have the big mini. We're off tonight. No mini tonight, but tomorrow night we have a very fun one, a special Sunday edition with influencers, YouTube stars, Twitch stars, Ovi's girlfriend, a pinball player. It's going to be great. It's definitely eclectic bunch. I think there's a lot of people. I did a bit of research, took a look at some of them. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's a granny. It's great. So we'll be back on Monday evening to talk about that. In terms of where you can find it, sequesteraccess.com/live feeds. And then also there's a Patreon. So become a patron. That's what I recommend to everyone. Like, you can be on these games, so we can literally be talking to you next week. It's unlike anything else, where it's not like Survivor or Big Brother where you hope to one day play. Like, you can play next week. So throw Audrey some money, play the game, do well, be on the podcast, and have fun. There's no real reason not to.
Can I ask, I'm sorry guys, this is now going to make it slightly longer. Is there anyone that you were really excited about to watch tomorrow? Is there someone that you have like you want to like follow around or anything?
Taryn is the only person I'm really familiar with, and I'm really, really excited to see him play. I'm so excited to see him play. After watching him just comment on strategy for such a long time, I want to see him finally put his money where his mouth is.
I don't know any of them, so I don't know.
So I'm like, oh God, I'll just say what I was gonna say. I'm a competitive pinball player, so I like very much know that guy, Jack Danger, and he's
really?
He's like a celeb of the generic white dudes that all play pinball, basically.
I spent my work yesterday watching him play pinball videos. I was just looking at the cast. I was like, one of these people is not like the other, and it's Jack Danger. And so I just watched him play pinball for a solid 30 minutes.
I definitely like. I heard that he was in the contention as like some of the people they might reach out to, and I was like, you gotta get this guy. I love this guy. Pinball forever. Also, like, a lot of pinball nerds are like reality TV nerds, so I thought it was like a decent crossover to possibly get some of those people.
I'm really excited to see Hannah because I remember Avi's season of Big Brother, and I stopped watching after the beginning because all the POC were being targeted, and the way that Kimmy was treated was just the same way Dominique was treated, but no one talked about that. And at least with Kimmy, it was addressed. But like, it's one of the reasons that I tuned out of that season, because being like a trans person of color, you're so used to seeing the people who are different being targeted so early simply just because they're different. And that season, it was so blatantly obvious. And she always went to bat for all of those people from jump in that season on Twitter. And she was one of the loudest voices in support of just how fucked up that season was. And I'm really, really excited to see how she plays, because I feel like she is gonna probably be a pretty big gamer. I really, really think that.
And we get to see their adorable corgi again.
Hopefully.
Well, this is the last comment I'm going to show. Do you guys have any social medias or anything else that you'd like to promote before we head out of here that people can find you on if they want to?
You can find me on anything just using my name, Sharifa Yasmin, and add underscore at the end. But Twitter, Instagram.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, but they're both different usernames. One of them is, you know what? It doesn't.
Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat. But the only one I think everybody should download is Byte. So promotional.
Right there you go. Cool. Braden?
My Twitter is Braden with a B, like all one word. And if you're Canadian and need legal work, you can look up my name. That's about it.
That's about it. And I am at TR Conradi on Instagram, Twitter, Byte. Louie?
Twitter, Rank and Rate. Instagram's just my name, Louie Knowles.
Perfect. Well, unless anyone has anything to say, that's it, guys. We will be back, like Louie said, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday. this coming Monday to talk about the special event mini on Sunday. So should be fun. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Bye.